I
as
watched
well.
Batman. I sat down and I watched Batman Caped Crusader. As an advocate of animation, working in it, I always like to see the stuff that comes out of it. Um,
Mhm.
I really liked it. I really enjoyed the stories. I enjoyed the writing. Batman works phenomenally as a period piece. I think he should always be a period piece, especially like in like the 30s and like the perfect timing, 20s, 30s, Prohibition. Like that's the perfect place to have Batman. He just works so well in that environment. But I loved it. A lot of people are comparing it to Batman animated series, and I don't think that's a fair comparison, just because that series was, we talk about the showdown all the time, lightning in a bottle, right? Perfect cast, perfect music, perfect animation studio, perfect timing, right? The show is just perfect, and like trying to replicate, it'd be a mistake to try to replicate that, and people comparing it to it, and I don't think that's a fair comparison because it's not. It's producer Bruce Timm is one of the producers, and Matt Reeves is also a producer on the show, who did the other Batman movie, which I did like. But I mean, I enjoyed it. What sucks is I feel that, and I feel, as working in animation and watching this, I feel like Amazon gave them a quarter of the budget they needed in the animation department. There's a lot of shots that are really janky,
Mhm.
very slow move, and like slow moving in a bad way. They hang on shots a lot longer, which are little tricks you do in animation when you're trying to conserve a budget. And
Didn't
like,
you see
there's
that in Invincible also, Greg?
yeah, he goes shot for shot. He talks about how they make a budget go, and just there's all those red flags are there. There's a terrible shot of him dodging out of the way of a car, and you're like, wow, that was. I was like, that's bad. Like when I stop it, and she's like, when Nicole's like, why'd you pause it? I'm like, because that was a bad shot. And I walk back, I'm like, wow, like I don't think they gave them enough animation budget. I think a lot of the budget went to the voice cast. And then Amazon was like, well, we'll give you, $2 million to do it. We're not going to give you $6 million.
I think an important thing to mention to talk about the production is that this was originally a HBO Max joint. This was obviously WB owns Batman. This was originally a project at WB that they canceled. They canned it during
Money.
production or during pre-production, and then Amazon saved it. Amazon went in and bought it from them. So I imagine Amazon probably didn't put their entire farm
No.
behind it. They were kind of just salvaging it. But yeah, this show almost didn't even get made
Yeah.
at all.
The only
because of the
criticism I
brilliant Warner
have
Brothers.
is the animation feels like it needs a bigger budget. Just in the just in what it is, but I feel like that's not their fault. But because the writing's still great, I like the writing. And on a personal, I don't like they have a lot of incidental characters like Montoya and Bullock and stuff like that. If you've read the comics, which is kind of cool. I don't like what they did with Bullock. I like Bullock as a beat cop who's like trying his best. They made him, slightly spoilers, they made him crooked in this. I don't like when Bullock's crooked. I like when he's like, I don't trust Batman, I only trust myself. He's like a legal Batman that is just really rugged. I like that Bullock. I don't like the one that's evil, that's villainous. I like that. That's my only criticism. That's a personal thing.
Is this a movie?
It's a series.
TV show.
Eight
series?
episode series. Yeah.
Okay.
And props, like they reached into their bag for some villains that I wasn't even like aware of, like in his like rogues gallery that I haven't seen in like decades or I've never even read about before, which is kind of cool. They of course they do Catwoman and they do Falcone, and they do a Penguin. They do like a gender swap in the Penguin. That doesn't bother me too much. I think there were better villains to gender swap in this other than the Penguin. But it's underground crime. It's great. They have a Firebug, which is like a take on Firefly. I really did enjoy it. Like if you enjoy animation, you enjoy Batman, give it a watch. It's probably too talkative for younger audiences. A little too much talking, a little too much, exposition and wordy. Like there's not a lot of action in it. So, but like I still enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was I enjoyed it thoroughly. That was one of the things I watched for the last week.
Do you think we're gonna see this with more DC properties, where they end up not on WB properties, they end up on another streaming service instead?
It depends. I think Bruce Timm has had a lot of misses in his career. He's known for obviously the Batman animated series, Superman animated series, and the New Adventures of Batman and Superman. And then he started to do all these, like, that gave him a lot of rep in the industry. So he started to do a lot of experimentation things, and they just weren't great. The Killing Joke was absolutely horrendous. If you've seen that, it was a full length feature that he did. It was awful. It was just really bad from a comic standpoint, from a fan standpoint, from an animation standpoint. Nobody liked it. So he had a lot of misses. So I can understand why Warner Brothers was like, no, we're not going to do this with you, because he's lost a lot of that cred. Hopefully, but I think we're getting the treatment in like they love the full length series stuff, the fully animated stuff. This, you know, they did Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1, 2, and 3, and they did a couple other movies, and they're part of their own universe, like their own consistent universe. And I don't like the feature films because like I feel like you have to rush through them. A series is so much better. You can develop characters more. You can tell different stories. Where a movie feels like it's over just as you're getting into it, or just it flows poorly because I have to tell so much stuff so quickly. I want to see more series because they've been doing the movies for decades. But I want to see more series. Like I want to see multiple episode series, similar to like Justice League Unlimited or, you know, the Batman, that kind of stuff. I want to see more of that. Teen Titans, Young Justice. Young Justice went off the hinges. I used to love. Funny story about Young Justice is I was friends with the writer. I met him at a convention. Greg Weisman did a lot of Gargoyle stuff. I was like, season 1 and 2 got made for Cartoon Network. They got canceled. Season 3 came in because people wanted to see it again. And I was like, I can't wait to see them focus on Batman's allies. And in the first episode, all of them leave. And they're never seen again. And I was like, no! So I didn't watch it. So I want to see I want to see Robin, Nightwing, Batgirl. I want to see all those characters. I think his allies are so cool. And they have a great episode in this, Asif, where like there's an orphanage and like they get kidnapped, and it's all the versions of Robin except for Drake because he's not an orphan, but like all the orphan versions. So you have Dick Grayson.
Oh, wow.
You have Dick Grayson. You have Sophie Turner. Sophie, I forget her last name. Sophie, and you have even the what's the girl in Frank Miller's one, the redhead one. Oh god, I should know that one. But they did all of them, which was kind of cool. Jason Todd, and like I don't know if that's a hint that they'll use them, but it was a fun little thing to see all the orphans, you know, as like 10-year-old kids getting into trouble, which was nice. So yeah,
Dope.
I recommend it. I recommend giving it a